Welcome to the Men Matter Scotland podcast. I am Martin Melly. I joined Men Matter last year. We've had a bit of a break from the podcast, but we are back now and we'll be doing them more frequently. Myself, Peter and the guys will be getting them going so we can talk to you as much as possible. As you can see now, we've got the cameras set up, so we will be on YouTube as well as audio and that. As I said, I'm Martin. I'm joined by Tom Elvin here. Tom is the chairman of Men Matter. Tom, how are we doing?
I'm great, Martin. I think getting back to doing this is brilliant. I think getting it to as many people as we can is a bonus, so I'll very much look forward to the session we're having.
Good stuff. And Fraser, Devine. Fraser is the operations manager here at Hub. Fraser, how are we doing?
Aye, alright bro.
Good. Get
on with this, man.
So, as I said, Men Matter, we've had a bit of a break. There's also been some changes at Men Matter over the last couple of months. Fraser, do you want to tell them about the new operations team, and then Tam, you can go on to some of the changes at the board level?
No, brilliant.
Aye, that's fine. So the operations team has new 3 men, myself being the operations lead, and Martin, yourself and Nev being the coordinators, and yourself and Nev being the guys that put the programmes together and stuff for the guys to come and attend the classes on a daily basis.
Good stuff, mate. Probably should have done this at the start, but we'll do it now. In case this is MD's first time listening or watching, Men Matter Scotland is a mental health charity, a suicide prevention charity. We have a hub based in Drumchapel, and within this hub we have 14 rooms. Within the hub we do all sorts to prevent suicide and help get people get positive change in their lives. We have grown from, what was it, Fraser, February 2020 we got the hub?
February 2020 we launched the hub, but we started as a community group in 2019.
Cool, mate. Do you want to just give us a wee background about Men Matter and how it started and how you got involved?
That's fine. So it was a dad's group to start with, that Peter Divers and Gregor Ritchie worked for 2 different charities, and they both became new dads, and they realised there wasn't much support for dads in the local area. I went along as a dad with my Wayne. I didn't know very many positive people. I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict, and I got involved. The Wayne's behaviour started to get better. I started to meet positive people, and the pilot project ended. They only had $1,000 or something for 12 weeks. After that, we had a chat and we says, there's guys that need help, not just dads. We went for a coffee, it cost a coffee, and we came up with Men Matter Scotland instead of Dads Matter. We started litter picking, football, hull walking, stuff that would get guys interested. And then we started the talking group, which is a cornerstone of Men Matter, so those guys can talk about how they're feeling. We then applied for charity status. We had a community consultation with the community and asked them what would a support network for men look like in your area. During that time, myself and Gregor came to cope in this building and got assist training, and we seen it was becoming free. We jumped 2 feet in, and we asked for it, and John Oliver was kind enough to give us it, and once we got funding we were able to pay that back, and it's just expanded for there, man.
Good stuff, mate. So Tom, how did you get involved with the charity?
So I first made contact in probably March 2020, just as COVID was just about to hit us, and then like most other people kind of hibernated for a few months. I've got a kind of business that I run, and I found that in October 2020 I was starting to struggle a wee bit. I was starting to worry about all the guys that work with us, their families, and how we would get through COVID and how long we didn't know how long it was going to take. So I contacted Men Matter again, got a very quick response from Fraser as it turns out, and I was up the next day having a chat, a walk round, an introduction, and from that getting some initial help and support from Fraser and Gregor. They asked me to become involved in a more kind of board type capacity, which I was delighted to do, and since then it has played a massive big part in my life, and I think that doing things, as I said, like this to try and get more people to understand where we are, what we can do and how they can help us, and of course how we can help them is what it's all about.
Good stuff, mate. So for people that don't know and people that do know, Fraser, tell us a wee bit about Men Matter and what we do here at the Hub on a daily basis.
So we're a suicide prevention charity and a peer-to-peer support network. The Hub is available from 10:30 in the morning till 9 at night. With a programme activities on, ranging from mental health workshops to counselling to physical health stuff, and we're open to come in. You can get a one-to-one. As soon as you come, I'll tell you what happens. As soon as you come in, make a referral. Somebody makes a referral, or they come to the door themselves. We'll get them in. We'll get them a tour with one of our volunteers, and then we'll get them a one-to-one, and we'll ask them what they're struggling with, and here's how Men Matter can help you. And then the boys in your court to put the effort in, come in, get into the classes and better your mental health, and we'll always be there to support you.
Good stuff, mate.
I think, sorry Mark, I think it's worthwhile as well saying that somebody gets in touch with us, they get a response more or less that day, they get invited in that day or certainly that week, and I think that's where we've hit a wee sweet spot for people that are struggling. They don't have to wait 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks to come in and speak to somebody. They're pretty much in straight away, and I think that's a big positive step that we make in trying to respond to people's needs.
Aye, so we're basically 24/7 if you would like. It's no jobs to be 24/7, but for being people that have went through it, we understand how vital it is to be there for somebody. This morning somebody came through the door and had went to get help yesterday at the hospital and was put through to a nurse at Stockport, and the nurse says, "Man up, your appointment's in a few weeks." And that could have sent that guy over the edge.
Yeah, the old man up that doesn't work for MD, it's not very helpful in the slightest, is it?
So it isn't, but you'd be amazed at how many times people still say it. If we look at how far we've came, so when you spoke earlier on, Fraser, and it was, but it's always brilliant to hear you talking about it, but without kind of putting plaudits to you and Gregor and Peter, as we always do, it's easy to forget why we get started, right? And it's easy to forget that because we're that busy, we started with 3 people. It was you guys. And I don't think we should ever forget that. We've now got 1,800 members, and the 1,800 members have got family members and friends. So we're trying to get rid of the just man up. We're trying to get rid of the, right, it's okay, you're a guy, just live with it. And that whole thing is still out there. And every single day we fight to try and raise awareness that it is all right for a guy to admit weakness, admit to being emotional or stressed or anxious. And it is amazing. So we see it every single day that people are being told, just man up, you'll be fine. And what we try and do, obviously, is to show them that there's a safe space here where you don't have to be okay. You can get helped. And I think that in society as a rule, it's still very much a focus that as a guy, you're supposed to be there as a provider, as a guy who's leading, as a guy who's not showing any weakness or emotion. And when you come through these doors, it's a safe space for guys to admit that it is all right not to be okay. And I don't think no matter how many services we provide, no matter how many people come through the doors, it's something that we always have to make sure that we're reinforcing, is that as a guy, it is okay not to be okay.
Yeah, and that's a massive thing in Men Matter Scotland here. All 3 guys sitting here have had to get help at some point with their mental health, so there's no shame in it, and this man up thing is nonsense. It doesn't help MD, it is not a manly thing. What is it you say, Fraser? The biggest strength is showing weakness.
Aye.
So show your weakness and get help if you need it. Fraser was talking about the programming schedule we run here. We have things like Moving Forward class, that's Nev that does that. Nev is a former fireman turned Buddhist. He looks at it from a sort of Buddhist angle, getting people to see how they can move forward in their life. Not in religious in any sense, but it can show you using ways that Buddhism has taught him. Myself, I do mindset coaching, so I like to get people to change how they think so they can change how they feel. If they can change how they think about a situation, they can change how they feel about it. If they can change how they think about themselves, they can change how they feel about themselves. We also have a Mental Health Matters class. We have today, as we record this, is Thursday, and we have Lynn in today. Lynn is a trauma and PTSD therapist. She runs a company called No Fear, It is our most popular class. She is just starting it up this week as well. It teaches guys about trauma, PTSD, what it is, if you've been through it, how to deal with it and all that. The guys get so much out of it, and you can see them growing when they come out of it. So we have something on every day that benefits your mental health and your physical health. Like Fraser said, we do guitar lessons, piano lessons, songwriting lessons, DJ lessons. We have dodgeball and pickleball. We have a games night, yoga. We do Wim Hof cold water therapy. We do the sort of yoga and breathing techniques in the training room, and we've also got 2 of the cold baths to go into as well. And we also have sound therapy, a comedy workshop. Ian McDonald, a comedian, comes in, teaches the guys a bit about comedy and gets them to write their own wee bits, and they're going to do a show at the end of that. We have strength and conditioning, and we also have things like tennis and boxing. And when the weather's better, we do go wild, where we go out in nature, do hill walks, paddleboarding and kayaking. But as you said, Fraser, the main part of Men Matter when it started was the talking group. We have now expanded the talking groups in this place. The main thing when myself and Nev do initial one-to-ones with people is we always ask them, what's your outlet? When you're under stress or you're feeling like you're struggling, who do you talk to? And 9 times out of 10, it's nobody. So people are going through their lives with their partners, their families, their friends, and feel they can't speak to the people closest to them, and this is what we want to change. So when they come in here, they can speak to us, we can teach them a thing or two, and hopefully then they can go out into their lives with these coping mechanisms, but also learn to speak to their family, friends, whoever, so they've got more than one person they can speak to. And the main thing we get everyone to do when they come here is come to the talking group. The talking group's held out in the main area of the hub. There's usually about 20 guys there. We'll have somebody chairing it, and we have a ball and some questions. Fraser, do you want to explain more about the talking group, and then we can go on to how we've expanded it into different areas?
Aye, mate. So it's a safe place for men to talk without anybody judging them. So as your missus can't just tell you to shut up, or your pals can't just say, "Mum, get a pint." Don't talk about that. We've created a safe space where one of us will sit with a list of questions, and we'll fling the ball. Then the guy next to us to answer the question. We always start with your battery. So let your mental health battery from 0 to 100, how you feeling? And that way we can gauge where guys are. And that guy gets 5 minutes, couple of minutes to speak and answer the question without anybody else interrupting them. Do you know what I mean? People can give advice and that in the break, but we keep it to so as that guy's getting that 5 minutes safe space to talk and nobody's interrupting.
And I think for me, the biggest thing that a lot of the guys benefit from is the talking, obviously. But a lot of your guys have never had anybody listening to them.
Yeah.
They've never had anybody actually listen to what they've got to say. So the amount of feedback that we get when people say, it was just nice to speak and know that there was a group of guys listening. And I think that's incredibly important. So that active kind of listening is we say up here, it's a superpower. It's actually letting people know that it's okay to speak. They are then building up that wee bit of trust, you're building up that wee bit of relationship. And it's a model that, I know we'll come on and talk about it, that we're now expanding across other parts of the city. So for me, the talking group is what it's called and it's what we do, but the listening part, it's incredibly important as well.
Yeah, that's the key to it. A lot of guys say, we'll just let them speak, we don't have to do a lot, we just let them get it out, and even when they stop, just wait a second and see if they'll say anything else. So
an incredible thing for me, only a few weeks ago, we started a talking group in Springburn, which is where I come from originally. And as it happens, my dad was at the talking group, and to have the same talking group as your dad, to hear what he's got to say, to hear his trials and tribulations as well, for me was absolutely incredible. We have never spoken about it since, but for him to go and do that and for him to come and be involved, for me was incredible, because my dad's a different generation for me. I didn't think, and I don't think he's ever had the opportunity to attend somewhere like that. So to do that and to be involved in it with your dad was absolutely incredible. Yeah, the talking group's so powerful. And how many times do you meet up with your mate and it's a quick "how you doing?" and the two of you either answer or just avoid the question? It's always better just sitting down and going, "So how are you doing?" And that's when you can really gauge how people are. So Fraser, we talked about how we're starting to expand. We are
Men Matter Scotland, it's not just Drumchapel. We are trying to get out into different areas. Can you tell us about the talking group? Will always be here every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock in the Drumchapel hub, but we've started to expand out with Drumchapel. Can you tell us where else we can go?
Aye, mate. So it's brilliant for Men Matter that we're expanding. I've always wanted it right for the start, man. We get guys coming from Edinburgh, Helensburgh, Johnston, Paisley, Drumchapel. So this year we've managed to reach into Springburn Parish Church on a Tuesday night at 6:30. So if you're watching, you're from Springburn and you need to talk, get yourself there. We're in G20, Mary Hill, down at the Wynford on a Wednesday from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And we're in the Swamp starting for this Friday, which is in Pollock. So if you're out in Pollock and you're struggling, get down to the Swamp, man, from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And we are going down to Ayrshire, Kilmarnock College, if I'm right, Tam.
Kilmarnock, the Ayrshire College campus, yeah.
And we'll be doing a talking group down there. And then our last one just now would probably be Portland Das. We're looking to move into there. We've got a space that we're being able to use for free. So it's good we're getting to stretch, not just across Glasgow, but down to Ayrshire as well.
Good stuff, mate. Tam, what do you think about the expansion? Because the talking group helps a lot of people here, but what have you seen about the uptake in the other areas?
So I think it's very much how it was here in its infancy. It's people having to know where to go, people having to know what's happening and what benefits they're going to get for it. So from your point of view, having the opportunity to be doing things like this to further communicate where we're going to be and what benefits you're going to get, I think it's incredible. I think we are intent on growing it, Fraser. I think it's absolutely certain that we want to try and grow and reach as many people as we can. So as Fraser said, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, if you're in any of the areas, come and see us, right? There's never a judgment made, there's never a difficulty. Sometimes that if you come to a talking group, some people just come and don't talk, they just come and listen. They might not feel comfortable in the first instance talking and telling everybody their story. So it's coming, it's getting out there, it's making people understand where we are, the benefits we can deliver. But for us, getting out there, we recognise that we've got an incredible team of people that work with us at Men Matter Scotland. We recognise that we need to keep trying to expand because this problem isn't something that's limited to Drumchapel or in fact Glasgow, as I'm sure we all know. So the more that we get this out there, the more that we have a model that can work, we want to try and make sure that we can take that to as many places as we can. In fact, recently, we've even put together a team, or we're putting together a team of people that we're going to train to actually be able to deliver and facilitate talking groups. So the fact that we're doing that shows the commitment that Men Matter Scotland have got to it. It shows the importance that we put on it. And I think that the more people that come and visit us, more people that take part, then the wider that benefit's going to be felt across everybody.
Yeah, when you see other people talking, it makes it easier for you to talk and express how you feel. And once you get it out of your head, then it makes it easier for everyone.
Big time.
So, Fraser, there's been a lot of changes with the talking groups. We're expanding that. If somebody wanted to get in touch with Men Matter, how would they do that? There are many ways, but what are the main ways?
The hub number is 0141 944 7900. You can also contact 24/7 really on Facebook at Men Matter Scotland. Just like your page and send us a message. You've also got our website, www.menmatterscotland.org. You can send an email through that or contact us at contact@menmatterscotland.org. Anyways, you can contact us. If you don't want to contact us yourself, get somebody to contact for you. You can just show up at the door. We would ask, show up the door if you wish, but if you want a kind of one-to-one there and then, always phone and book ahead, and you'll never wait any more than a day to come in and see us.
Yeah, we're very lucky here at Men Matter. Myself and Fraser are staff, Tom's the chairman, but we are helped hugely. In fact, we couldn't do this without the volunteers we have here. These are guys who, some of them have been to the service, used it and got better and want to give back. Some of the guys just volunteer out the goodness of their heart. The volunteers really help us, don't they, so much. So what will happen when you do come in is we'll get a volunteer to show you about the place, give you a tour, tell them about the place, and then myself and Nev will sit down and have that one-to-one chat with you. We will come up with a plan on how we think you can get you better. We can direct you to different services. So I'll try not to forget any here because there is lots. We have a lot of services in here because at the start, you guys were trying to do absolutely everything for everyone, whether it's housing, benefits, whatever it was, anything you were trying to do it. But luckily enough, we have reached out to certain companies and projects, and we've had people come to us. So we have People's Plus, who come in on a Wednesday. They help guys with CVs and getting an employment, and they can help with benefits. We have Citizens Advice starting at the end of this month. They're currently coming in every Wednesday as well. They will sit down and talk to the guys about the best energy deals and see if they can get them any energy deals. We have Social Security Scotland who come in. That's the new way of dealing with benefits. They deal with PIP, disability, any sort of benefits, they'll be able to help you, so they work out here as well. We have Alistair from Shared Parenting Scotland. He's absolutely brilliant. He will help the guys get custody of kids, go through the right means and legal procedures so everybody gets everything seen to. Is there any else I'm forgetting, Fraser?
We have Chest, Heart and Stroke.
Yes, Chest, Heart and Stroke have just started as well. They're coming in and doing medical checks on the staff, volunteers and any members. And we also have Selena Porch come in. Selena is working for Bill Kidd, who's the local MSP, so she can help with any housing things or anything you need help with. Anybody else I'm forgetting?
We have 3 or 4 councils.
Yep.
And also the Spark project.
Yeah. So what we do, when myself and Nev will speak to MD that comes in, we'll put in a plan in place. We'll tell them what activities or classes we think they should be going to. We'll tell them about the talking group, and we'll put a plan in place for the first couple of weeks to see how they get there.
I think it's also worthwhile saying that for when you guys started it, we had to go and chat a lot of doors to try and get alliances and partnerships. We're now very much at the point where there's people chatting their door. We're actually getting referrals from local GPs and stuff like that as well, which is incredible. And I think that when you ally what we've got in terms of the services you've just discussed there for both guys, we've also got partnerships with local boxing clubs, local tennis clubs, local football clubs, rugby clubs, just to try and offer as much help and support as we possibly can to all our members. And I think that the future for us is that we want to grow, but we recognise that if we try and do everything, we will fail.
Yeah.
So the recognition is, if we can signpost our members to the relevant services, if the relevant services want to come and partner with us, indeed when we're moving forward, I think that the way forward for funding is alliance and partnership funding, and I think that's an incredibly positive way for us to move forward. I very recently had a meeting with Claire Gallagher from RAM-H, and trying to do some stuff together is the way that we're going to move forward and give the most benefit, the most value, and ultimately help the most people.
Yeah, remember Scotland here, it's not a closed shop. We don't think we've got our way of helping people, and that's it. We go and visit places. We've been to prisons, we've been to schools, we have been to other services that help people. They have been to see us as well. So we're looking to get as many people around about, and we're looking to get in as many places so we can help, they can help, and we can all help each other, because the main thing is stopping people killing themselves.
I think the way that we've described it in the past, Fraser, is that in the 1990s there was a knife crime epidemic in Strathclyde in Glasgow. Strathclyde Police put in a massive amount of effort to understand how to best negate and rid ourselves of that problem. That model is now being used across the world. It's not been delivered by Strathclyde Police. It's been delivered as a model by people who understand it and can now benefit from it. I think what we're trying to do here at Men Matter is do the exact same thing. We're trying to have a peer-to-peer lived experience model on how to help mental health, well-being and reduce suicides. We're not saying that we're the only people that can deliver that, but we're saying if you want help, if you want some collaboration, if you want some advice, we are absolutely willing to try and do that, whether that be male or females, I hasten to add. And I think if we get that model, I don't think it'll ever be perfected, but if we get that model to a place where we can use that to kind of lift it and drop it in other areas, that's how we see the most successful way forward for us.
Yes, the growth. We just need to expand as much as we can and get people to help us. We cannot be out there saying, if you're struggling, go and get help, if we're not going to accept help from people.
And I think the other thing I would say is that Nev as you mentioned, worked in the fire service for 35 years. The amount of support he says he gets in here from us, from you guys, from the counselling services that we put in place, the kind of check-ins that we try and do for each other. I'm not for any way saying that we're absolutely perfect, but the way that we try and support each other is incredibly important, because we know that if we're not okay, the services that we're trying to provide to make sure everybody else is okay, is they going to be delivered in the most efficient, most effective manner?
No, definitely not. And you mentioned the counselling services again, Fraser, you mentioned them as well. As I was saying, what will happen is myself and Nev will put a plan in place for everybody when they came in, and then if further down the line, a few weeks down the line, they're still struggling, we do have counselling services. We have the Spark who come in once a week. They deal with a few people who we put forward for that. The Spark are a counselling service in Scotland. They've been around for a very long time. Just look them up if you are struggling. They've got a helpline you can phone up and speak to a counsellor if you need be. We also have counsellors come in, Maxine and Andy, who have went through their counselling course, and
Charlie.
they're looking to do their hours. And we have Charlie and Hugh, who are cognitive behavioural therapists as well. So we have 4 or 5 counsellors on board at the moment. We've got nearly 20 people, because we don't just have it as guys. We have some family members from people in getting counselling. The NHS waiting list unfortunately can be up to 6 months, but if you come in here, put in the work, and you're still struggling, we can try and get you counselling in as 6 weeks is maybe the most you'll have to wait, but we try and get it as quickly as possible. That doesn't mean to say you can come in and just ask for counsel. We need to see you put in the work, put in the effort, but we will help as much as we can. So we've been through what we're expanding, and as we say, we all needed help when we were well into our adulthood, and that for me was because I didn't talk about how I feel. I'm sure it's about the same for yous. I kept things bottled up, and at some point it's going to overflow, or the bottle's going to burst and it'll come out. So what we're trying to do is get in before that happens. So Fraser, can you tell us what we've been doing going into the schools, please?
Aye, so we started with Drumchapel High, and we're doing an 8-week programme, and it's just a wee talking group with the boys, and it's to try and crack them open a wee bit, try to get them talking and show them that it's alright to talk about how you're feeling, that you don't need to man up, as Tom was talking about earlier, or you don't need to just go and get a booze with your pals to put 10 different faces, is what I did on, and it's working. Some of the boys are starting to crack and starting to open up and stuff, so we're now working with I think 5 or 6 different high schools, which is good. Yourself, Martin, you know, you're at one a day, and then straight after you get an email. So it's working, man, and if we can stop them before they jump in the river, instead of fishing them out later on in the adult life, it'll be well better, and it'll save MD for suffering the way personally I suffered myself, man.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, Tom? I mean, I'm not sure how I would have reacted seeing some guy, like I stood in front of 30 odd 16-year-olds a day. Difficult for me, but it must be difficult for them as well. They're going through massive changes in their life. If some guy is up there telling you, look, just talk, it'll make things easier, you're looking at going, well, will it? But if you can get through to one person, it makes a difference, doesn't it?
So I think the opportunity is getting us in front of the kids, right? So see the fact that we're getting that opportunity, the fact that the heads and the deputy heads and the teachers and all that kind of stuff are asking us in, they recognise that it's going to benefit. So you're quite right, as a teenager, would I have felt comfortable somebody talking in front of me about me opening up about my feelings? Probably not, right? But that doesn't mean it's right. So the fact that we're trying to take that advanced step and make things better, for me, is incredibly important. I was doing a talk, as you know, Fraser, at a school just probably end of October, and standing in front of S3, S4, S5 and S6, it's quite daunting for me as well, right? Because you're kind of going, right, I'm going to open up here. You know that the kids are probably going to, at the back, going to have a wee laugh and a wee joke and a wee, who's this old guy, blah, 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 and that's fine. But as you said, if one person comes back and talks to you about it and follows it through, as we did have at St Luke's, where they very kindly had a donation for us a couple of days later, which was very, very greatly received. If we can get that, it might not be the one person that talks to you, it might be the one person that talks to that one person, who talks to that one person, who talks to that one person. And the fact that we're getting consistent numbers at the schools that we're going to tells us that they're not just coming to get out of class, right? They're coming to try and learn a wee bit about what we've got to say and learn a wee bit about how they make it better. I've said to a young guy that if he doesn't get his mental health fixed when he's younger, why would he expect it to automatically become fixed when he gets older? So it was, if you break your leg, if you don't get it fixed, might knit together, but you're still going to have that issue. It's the same with your mental health. If you don't get it addressed, if you don't know how to fix it, then it's always going to come back, or it's likely to come back and cause you issues moving forward in your life. And that's where we're trying to get the younger people talking about it. The age that used to be the kind of main age for suicide in male was between 40 and 49. That age is now coming much towards teenagers, your early 20s. And anything that we can do to try and make that better is what we're going to try and do.
Yeah, it would have been a massive benefit for me at school. Drumchapel High, you mentioned them, Fraser, is one of the schools we go to. It's not just us that are going into schools. We have schools that are doing a lot for us. Like you said, at St Luke's, we get donations, we get schools raising money for us. I think young people, from my point of view nowadays, are more aware of what's going out. Maybe that's the internet, or maybe it's the way they've grown up, but they're more aware of what's going on and they want to do good, I feel. Not that we didn't, but I think it's just a bit different now. So we've had a lot of schools trying to raise money for us, and we've also, there's a thing called YPI, where schools can put forward a project or a charity that they think should win some money out the pot. Luckily for us, Drumchapel High won that for us, and we were granted £3,000. We have managed to put that to very good use. Fraser, could you tell us what use we've put that to?
Aye, so when the lasses came to see the hub and got a wee tour and stuff, Gregor done a video, and it's, for us, it's about having guys out in the street. Do you know what I mean? The last 3 or 4 years, the number of suicides in Drumchapel has been sky high. And we know the local suicide hotspots. It's like having guys in the street so you can look for somebody that looks down, somebody that's drunk, somebody that just needs to talk. So on a Friday and Saturday night, we're out in the streets from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock at night. For the first 2 hours we'll walk the scheme and interact with people, and if they're needing a wee horn, we'll give them it. And then the last hour we get on the bikes and cycle around the hotspots, down the canal, up the back of the woods and stuff. We've had 3 interventions in 4 weeks, so that just shows that it's working and that it's needed, and we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, it's incredible the difference it's made already, and it wouldn't have been possible without the support of the schools and that, would it, Tam? That made us able to pay guys wages, it gave us enough money to get uniforms to the guy, and we also have good supporters here, like Gary from the Love It pub. He paid for a lot of the uniforms as well, so we need that support as well, don't we?
I think that the support we get is incredible, right? The support that we get from people who you never thought would be aware of what we're doing is incredible. The fact that we're getting funding from pupils at school tells us that the message that we're trying to send is getting out there. There's so many local businesses that help us, right? You mentioned Gary to Love It, and we've got Muzza who does a tremendous amount for us, right? But the thing for us is, it's every time we get that £3,000, it's reinvested into preventing more suicide, more taxpayers funding, more money that the government doesn't have to spend. So we're at the point where every single bit that we get, and every single bit of help that we get, every single bit of finance help that we get, we reinvest it, and we try and do as much good as we possibly can. We keep talking about growth, but we need to make sure that when we're growing, we're doing it in a controlled manner, because we can't just go and do everything as much as we would like. It's something that we need to do in a controlled manner, and the fact that we're getting this support for the local community and from, and this is something that's really, really close to my heart, people who have already lost family members through suicide are raising funds for us, and they are coming in and they're helping, and indeed we've put some of the family members through assist training and mental health first aid training. We also, as much as we are Men Matter Scotland to deal with the people who we're trying to prevent committing suicide, we've also got a really, really good support network from families who have already very, very sadly lost members, and we're using that as a support network for them as well. And the support that we get from them, as well as the support they get from each other, is incredible. And I think that that's something that, moving forward, we put a lot of thanks in, we put a lot of credence in, and if there is somebody who needs help, having already lost somebody, then again, get in touch with us, because we'd like to think we could help you.
Yeah, we have a memorial wall up in the wall here, and most of the guys that are on that are families that have come in and said, "Oh, I wish he'd known about this. This place could have helped them." We don't want another single person going up in that wall,
Absolutely.
do we, Fraser? So that's what it's all about.
We don't, man, and sadly it's happening daily. Right now, as we speak, there's families contacting us daily. My cousin, my dad, my boy have sadly took their own life. How can we help these? And it's good that they want to help us, but we don't want them having to come and help us, do you know what I mean? But when we first started, we thought we could save everybody. There shouldn't be anybody up in that wall, but unfortunately we've now got 16, and that's only for 2021, and there is a couple more that the families don't want them up in the wall, which is fair enough, but it's hopefully is to try and reduce. It's always going to be to reduce suicide, but they have not had many more men up in that wall, man.
And I think it would probably be remiss of me as the chair of the organisation not to make this point. The amount of money that the Scottish taxpayer pays a year to deal with the suicide epidemic that we have in our country is incredible. I think 2021 it was something like 724 people had taken their own life.
It's £1 million a person.
And it's the best part, between 800,000 and £1 million a person, between the run up to the person sadly taking their own life and the aftermath of that. If the government could only invest a very small percentage of what it costs them to help us and other charities like us raise awareness, then I think the benefits would be felt not just by the people who are needing help, but for their families and their friends, and also the money that they would save to reinvest in other areas that people would benefit from would be considerable.
Yeah, I think we could talk about that a full day in another podcast, but we'll try and keep it on here, keep it going here. Fraser, you mentioned there's been 3 interventions where we've been out in the street team, but we've also had one of our fantastic volunteers, Ian. He gives up so much of his time and energy to this place. In the past 3-4 weeks, he's had 2 interventions on his way home from the hub. As a volunteer, they give us so much, but we try and give them as well. So can you talk about some of the training? You've already mentioned wee bits of it. So if you are a staff member here, a volunteer here, we do put you through training, and we also have this training open to people's families and all that if we can get them on board. So could you explain a bit about that, please?
So to be a volunteer here, man, you get mental health first aid training, and you get assist training, and you also, when you come here to start with, you'll get a wee video about what Men Matter is and stuff, but the training you must have is mental health first aid and assist, and that shows we can make sure that you'll always get affected, but to minimise the risk of you getting off you're not burning out and stuff, and so the guys can deal with guys better, and your own experience is also going to help you as well. I just think my own experience was all I needed, and then when I done that assist training and stuff, it's kind of made me more confident to speak to somebody, knowing what to say, knowing to ask a question, are you suicidal? So you don't need to beat around the bush about it, and then that way you get somebody open up there. But the volunteers are great at what they do, and they've all been through the training, and then on top of that we'll get them counselling, see if they do start to struggle, because we're just all humans as well. We'll get them counselling so as they're getting support, because in here it's a tough job to do. It's no easy. You're dealing with all sorts of different guys, and before you know it, your mental health can start to decline. But we get you into counselling, and we'll give you a wee break if you're struggling. If you need it off, take it off and stuff like that.
Martin, I think as well it's worthwhile saying that training is there for our volunteers, our staff members, but it's also there for the families, as you touched on earlier. We are unashamedly Men Matter Scotland, but every man has got a woman in their life, whether it be their mum, whether it be their gran, their wife, their daughter, their sister. So we've actually taken these kind of female members of the family through the training, because if they can identify when the males in their life are actually starting to struggle or starting to go downhill, the earlier they can identify that and the more they know how to help that, then again it contributes to what we're ultimately trying to do and reduce suicide in males.
Yeah, the assist training, suicide prevention training is unbelievable. It gives you that sort of confidence that if you do meet somebody suicidal, you know what to say to them, how to say it, and how to sort of get them off the ledge. It's invaluable in here as well. And that's something we try and do here, is give everybody as much training as possible to build themselves up. We have the assist trainings, most of the trainings are done by the same company. The women that come in are absolutely fantastic, so I'd urge anybody that can do it to do it. You'll get so much out of it and it'll benefit you as well, won't it? It's absolutely phenomenal.
Something that's worthwhile, and we could maybe have covered it at the start, but the fact that we've got 3 founders, right? We've got yourself, we've got Gregor and we've got Peter, who are all still involved. One of the bigger changes that we've made in the last few months is, as well as further supporting the operations team, we've got Gregor, who's now looking at how we go and develop frameworks and partnerships, how we develop our services further without having to himself be involved in the day-to-day operations part of what we're doing, which you guys are covering. So for us to be able to actually have Gregor, who's one of the founders, shaping how we as an organisation move forward, as well as you, Fraser, Martin and Nev, delivering the services, is an incredible bonus for us. And we've got Peter, who is a bit of a legend in Drumchapel at the best of times, who's still there to help whatever we need as well. So they things, in terms of how we're moving forward and how many people we're trying to help, I think it's very important to understand that we're trying to do it in the correct manner.
Yeah, I mean, if we can stay on Peter for a wee second, Men Matter Scotland is for MD 16 and above, but Peter's part of the G20 project. They'll help G15. G20 is my postcode. G15. They help people out in younger guns, so it's up to 16-year-olds. They help out. Can you explain
up
a wee
to 25, I'm
is
sure
it?
it is. Aye. So G15 Youth Project have been going the last 15 years or something, maybe longer, and they work on with Drumchapel High as well. And they've got a street team. Sorry.
That's our new sensors to try and save energy in here.
And minimise cost.
So they do a street team, as well as they've got a wee base up at the hill in Drumchapel, and they do the shape programme and stuff. So they do a lot of good work with the youths in Drumchapel.
Yeah, excellent, isn't it? So we've touched on a lot of things. Men Matter has grown every day, as it seems, and Fraser, you were involved with a project a few years ago when you were in recovery. You went up to Bamadi. We are lucky enough that we are getting use of Bamadi. Can you tell people where it is, what it is, and how we're going to be using it moving forward?
Aye, so I was very fortunate when I was a service user with Gilgill Trust, when I was coming off of drinking and drugs, that they had this retreat where they could take you away from the schemes, man. There's nothing there. It's up the back of Lochaw at Delavic. And you learned life skills, you learned how to cook, you learned how to do work, mix cement, stuff that you didn't know, and we've managed to get a partnership with Bamadi where we can now take our guys up there, we can take them away for a retreat, so up there all day meditation, talking group in the fire, and get them away from their problems. We've just started last year using it. We have got plans with Bamadi in the future, but right now we're doing a wee bit of work with the working parties that are going up and stuff, to get it ready so as when we take the guys up there.
It's a wee piece of heaven, isn't it, Tom? Man,
it's brilliant, and you touched on it earlier as well, the Go Wilds, the nature aspect of what we're trying to do doesn't cost anything, right? You can get there and you can do a bit of cold water exposure, you can just get grounded walking on the grass, whatever it may be. So see the fact that we've got that opportunity to take the guys up there and away from their troubles and their strife, as I would say, is a massive benefit. But the nature aspect, where we are based, we're so lucky to have so much nature within walking distance or a cycle ride away from us, that it's something that we focus quite a lot on. Mental health is incredibly focused towards getting back in touch with nature, and the Bamadi aspect of it's brilliant.
Fraser, I want to come back to something we spoke about earlier, some of the classes we do. We also have the addictions meeting on a Friday night, the recovery group, you yourself being a recovering addict. A lot of people come in and they say, I didn't know whether I should come or not. We'd urge MD, whether they're lonely, whether they're unhappy, depression, anxiety, any sort of addiction, to come in and get help. We can help people with addictions as well, can't we?
Aye, of course, man. Addictions and mental health come hand in hand. You know what I mean? I started using drinking drugs to cope with how I was feeling, and that's all down to your mental health. And as well as the talking groups, you've got your recovery talking groups, and guys go, oh, I've tried NA and A, and I'm very fortunate because I got sober in A, but that's because I'd done the work that A suggested, and I'd done the programme of recovery, and that's how you stay sober. Some of it I know how to stay sober. So as they've not got that fear, we've just got a recovery group where guys sit and talk about what they done to recover and how they recover and how they struggle, and it seems to be working quite well. But for me, man, I would urge MD that's struggling with addiction, definitely come here because we will help you, but also we'll send you in the way of AA, NA, CA, Gamblers Anonymous, because that's the people that are the experienced on how to get well, man.
Yeah, we can do our best to help you, but we'll be able to signpost you, as you said earlier, Tom.
Yeah, that's really important. We don't profess to be able to fix everything and do every single service, but if we don't do it, we'll know somebody that can.
Just touching back on the funding aspect, because Men Matter Scotland is growing, everything's growing, hence why we've got sensors in here to try and cut back in the electrics and all that, but it's all essential stuff. Can you talk a bit about some of the people that give us funding, Tom? We've got some massive funders all the way down to people that just have boxes for us that will bring in money when they can.
So the fact that we've been able to operate and grow in the last 2 years is thanks in no way to the money that we get, right? So National Lottery funding is amazing, the Robertson Trust is amazing, we've had money from the Colin Weir Fund, which is related to Partick Thistle, and one of the more fortuitous major partners that we've met and we've been introduced to is Vodafone have been absolutely incredible for us, right? They've been incredible, they're engaging, they're helping. We've been able to take some of the members who have never been to London before, for example, down to London for charity days, and that's massive funding. But the other people who do constant fundraising, who do constant donations and sponsorship events for us, that's what's able to keep us going. So we've got excuse me, bigger chunks of money which give us security over a longer period, but the money that people raise and contribute for us that we get on a monthly basis, we can never plan for it, but it's incredibly gratefully received because that's what allows us to do the additional things. So getting your guys' salaries paid for is the lottery, the Robertson Trust and all that kind of really secure funding, but the money that we get from the public and local companies is what keeps us going on a day-to-day basis. And I think that the other thing that we normally say to people is that it's not just your money we're after, right? It's your time, right? So if you can come in and give us some of your time, if you've got skills that you think you can help train some of the guys up on, come in and help us, get in touch, because the financial aspect is incredible, but not everybody's able to contribute that. So if you've got some time and you've got some skills and you've got some knowledge that you think you can contribute, we'd be absolutely delighted to hear from you.
Yeah, we can't do any of this without the help of people, and
1,000,000%.
it's just been, the growth is incredible. But Tom, how does Men Matter keep growing from here? Where do we go from here?
So I think everything that we've covered, right, we have tried to build a really solid base, because if you don't have a solid base, you won't be able to build on it with any great strength and confidence. How do we grow? We keep doing a little bit of what we're doing, and then we do a wee bit more of what we're doing. We have our in transit just now. We've got our kind of 5-year long-term strategy that we're looking to put in place. We're looking to assess where we need funding. We're looking to assess where we need help. So for us, we need to make sure that we grow in a controlled fashion. We keep having the fantastic support that we get from our volunteers and our staff. The funders that we have already encountered have been incredible. Long may that continue. But the other thing that I would say we need to thank is our membership, right?
Yep.
Because the membership keeps growing. The membership is, in some cases, some really troubled people who have came here. They've adopted, by and large, our values, what we need them to do, how we need them to behave, the cultural changes they perhaps need to make. We need to make sure that our membership keeps growing and the people that come through the door understand how lucky they are that we've got Men Matter Scotland here to try and help them. But as Fraser said, we wish that we didn't have any members, because that would mean that we'd ultimately met our goal. But for us, we want to make sure that we grow in a consistent fashion, we grow in a controlled fashion. We are not overstretching ourselves, we're not overburdening the people that work with us, because Fraser, you touched on it earlier, everybody's got the risk of their own mental health falling backwards. So again, we do it in a controlled fashion. We want to grow. We've got social media presence, not just in Drumchapel and Glasgow and Scotland and the UK, but across the world. There is loads of different things that we can investigate to make sure that our reach grows far outside Glasgow. But again, and I'll keep coming back to it, we need to do it in a controlled fashion.
So you talk about all over the world, and obviously we first started when we were online doing Zoom talking groups. There's a guy from New Zealand. He now runs a talking group in New Zealand. It's no Men Matter, doesn't need to be, but there's guys out there getting help just for a wee idea that it's alright to talk now.
We've had people who have maybe came from Drumchapel or Glasgow who have moved elsewhere in the world who have got in touch with us. There's other people who have seen some online stuff that we've done who have got nothing to do with Glasgow or Scotland and are doing that kind of stuff. We recognise that the model, to touch on what we said earlier, Martin, the model that we're looking to put in place here, it doesn't need to be Men Matter Scotland that deliver it. So the online stuff is something that we can grow, we can support, we can help with, we can develop. So again, if this is going out on YouTube, if you're watching it, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your background, regardless of what country you live in, if you want to try and start a talking group, if you want to try and do something online, contact us and we'll help you as much as we can.
Yeah, we're trying. We don't want to go into these schemes or these places and just have to be Men Matter. If we can train people up to do the talking groups themselves and we can walk away and check in, always be there for them, then that would be ideal for us. Sticking on growth, I myself have seen a lot of growth in Men Matter, but I've also seen a lot of growth in Fraser recently. Tom, I was wondering if you could say if you're feeling the same. I've seen him grow in the last couple of months, becoming a leader in this place and take Men Matter forward, and I think it's a credit to himself that he's managed to do that.
So when I first joined here, Fraser was a nugget, right? Fraser was a nugget, and he's still a nugget and he's our nugget, but the change that I've seen in the last 2.5 years I've been involved has been incredible. We have a diamond in the rough, I'm sure everybody knows that. I think sometimes I wish that you would realise that a wee bit more, but the change and the positive change you've had on other people has been incredible. You consider it to just be what you do, and thankfully for us it is just what you do, but we never ever take it for granted. I don't think you ever should either. I'll go back to when we very first started. I look at Dad's Matter with Gregor and Peter. I don't think either of them could ever have envisaged where we are just now, right? And the three of you look at where you've been, where we've came, and it's incredible. But I would say that the journey that has been the most significant is definitely yours, and I don't think that should ever be underestimated. If anybody's looking for something to think, I'll never be able to make anything of myself, either in the doldrums with drink or drugs or gambling or any other vice that you've got, then this nugget to my right hand side is probably a beacon to say, well, if you get the right help, you listen to the right people, you surround yourself with the right people, then I would like to think that there's hope for everybody. But for me, Fraser, and probably from everybody, it's a massive thanks, right? You've changed your behaviours, you've changed your language, you've changed how you interact with people, and I think it's also worthwhile saying as well, it's a big thanks to Jade, right, for putting up with everything that we bring to your door. But for me, if you can change like this, there's an absolute chance for everybody to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing with me. If MD ever says people can't change, then I can just use Fraser as an example of that. Look, mate, we can't sit here and do one-to-ones with people and tell them, oh, you have to look at the good in yourself, you have to give yourself credit. We have to then ask you how you felt in your role and how you feel you've changed, and give yourself a bit of credit as well.
Aye man, it's been a buzz. So I know I've grown, right, from when I first started Dad's Matter to where I'm at now. I was mad as fuck, you know what I mean? And I don't mean where I'm going to fight with people, I'm just saying, in there, I couldn't sit down, I was poking your arse, I was mad, you know what I mean? And that wasn't just, that was them, that was my mum and all. I've got ADHD, and the way I spoke to people wasn't right. And I knew right at the start when we started Men Matter, and Gregor was always in the office and I was always playing pool with the boys and stuff, and something on in the office and I'm like, nah, that's not my stuff, I can't do that. And it was because I always used to say, I can't do that all my life. Do you know what I mean? Because I never believed in myself. And I started getting into the office and getting showed wee bits off of Gregor and stuff. And then I kind of just got the opportunity and just like, I've always done it, I've always been there for people, and it's no joke to me, it's never been a joke to me. I wish people were there for me when I was in the dumps. Don't get me wrong, my man and dad were always there, right? But there was never a place like Men Matter. You'd always go and see your drug worker and they would say, try not to take as much coke as you did last week and come back next week. Aye, no bother. Or you would try and take your life, and you would wake up in the hospital and you'd be like, mate, come back out, you're alright, you know what I mean? So I know I've changed, and it's hard trying to change, and it's hard trying to keep my behaviours under control. Sometimes I let them loose in the office when it's just us three, or when I get home. But I've got the support here, you know what I mean? I've got the support of the board, I've got the support of you guys, I've got the support of the members, and I've definitely got the support of Jade, and I thank her for that, because Men Matter consumes my life, and I take people home and let them stay. I've stopped that now, but I just thought I need to be there for that guy. I don't know what to do if he would kill himself and stuff. She supported it all the time, maybe as well as nip my ear off, but aye, and my ways have helped me change and all. You're better guy.
So Fraser and Martin, I can't let this one go without telling you this story, right? I was speaking to Fraser a couple of weeks ago, and I've known his background, and he's told me about his issues with drinking drugs, and he's told me about he's trying to take his own life. he told me last week that one of the times he tried to take his own life, he jumped off a bridge and missed the water. Right?
Yeah.
Now, quite why anybody could jump off a bridge with the intention of taking their life and miss the water, right, tells me that there's a reason you're here, mate.
Yeah.
Right, that's a reason why you're here. And that story, you told me it and it was dead matter of fact, but that story sums you up perfectly, mate. And I'm, for one, very glad you missed the water that night.
Yeah.
I'm very, very glad, mate.
I just got thorns stuck in me, that was kind of sore, but
I think we're all glad, mate, and it just shows that, look, suicide, you can change after it, you can get better, so it would always be try and get yourself into Men Matter, try and get yourself help, because life's worth living at the end of the day. Fraser?
It's the pain, that's what you want to get rid of, the pain in there, and you think that's the way to go. You don't think you're worth much, you're better off dead, and once you put the work in and you realise, look, that isn't the way, do you know what I mean? There is a different way, you can feel better, but you need to love yourself. I was one person that hated myself because I couldn't understand who I was and my behaviours.
So, Fraser, Gregor, the very, very first day I came in here, Gregor asked me, do you love yourself? And I kind of, as a guy, I wasn't very comfortable. Gregor used that word day after day after day after day, and it became normal. And the more I realised that when Gregor was saying, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else, it was incredibly, incredibly grounding for me to realise that the importance of loving yourself before you can love anybody else. And that's something that I can thank you guys for continually reiterating for me, because it was a game changer. It really was a game changer.
You need to, because if you can't love yourself, how can you love somebody else?
A game changer.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect place to finish up, guys. I was going to ask you any last thoughts, but I don't think there's any better way to finish. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, Matt, we've already been through how you can do it, but Fraser, can you run through it again, please?
Aye. Phone is on 0141 944 7900 or Facebook, Men Matter Scotland, like the page, send us a message. We're on Twitter and Instagram as well, I missed the email there, and email us at contact@menmatterscotland.org or go on to our website at www.menmatterscotland.org. What I will say, Martin, before we do finish, the Kilt Walk's coming up on the 30th of April. I'll ask you, get involved, do the walk. It can be the mini one, it can be the long one, and it's a good day out. It's not just about raising funds for Men Matter, it's about raising awareness, man. We'll have a couple of boys in one of the stops playing the decks up at Jimmy's Boat and that this year, and it's about being able to talk when you're out.
Good stuff, mate. We've also got a speakers night with Frank McAvenny, Charlie Miller, a night in Linwood on the 19th of May, I think it is. So if you want to get involved in that, 13th of May, get involved, get in touch with us. Fraser, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Martin.
Tom, thanks for joining me.
It's a pleasure, mate. Thanks very much for asking the questions.
Thanks very much for joining us, people. I hope you've got something from it. I hope if you're struggling, you will come to Men Matter, and I hope you remember that you are worth it.